Welcome to Microeconomics. My name is wtmusungwa. I'll be your guide to your second year microeconomics principles, isn't it? So we want to look specifically just to remind you of the things that you have already done, and then we will add on a little bit to it. So I will remember in the first session, or the first part of microeconomics, that one, you looked at issues to do with scarcity, issues to do with the basics of economics, opportunity cost, utility, and issues to do with choices. So I'm going to take you a little bit further with that same guide. Come with me on this journey, and then we'll be able to show each other how economics affects our lives, affects your lives, affects the households, and we'll see how best we can make decisions as economists. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to make proper decisions, to use basic logic and analogy of situations, policy, to make the right choices at the right time. So basically, that's what microeconomics is all about. Being able to make proper analysis of circumstances and situations, and being able to solve problems. So come with me. Economics, if you remember, we said is made out of two components. Part one is microeconomics. Part two is macroeconomics. So micro, you have to look at it in terms of micro scale, isn't it? Then macro, you look at it holistically. So we are looking at the macro scale and the micro scale. Combine both of them, you've got what we know as microeconomics, isn't it? So you've got economics made out of two components. I want you to remember that. So for this guide, I want you to remember on one component that we talked about. We talked about scarcity in the first part of that microeconomics. We said scarcity, it has to do when we have limited resources to satisfy unlimited wants and needs. You have to remember, right now, if I say I will give you 1,000 rands, or I give you $1,000, if I ask you the things that you really need right now, you have quite a list. Maybe you want a car, you want food, you want clothes, but what you have is 1,000 rands. But you see, because that 1,000 rands is not enough, it will not meet all your wants and your needs. So what do? You as the consumer now, you want to make the valid decisions for you to be able to make the right choices. So you must allocate those resources. So that's where economics comes in, isn't it? That economics has to do with scarcity. Scarcity meaning how we deal with the economic problem, which is known as scarcity. So when economies try to allocate scarce resources to meet the needs within the economy, we know it as economics. Are we together on that one? So there are key things that we need to look at. Number one is issue of opportunity cost. We shall talk about it a little bit on. And there's also another key issue on utility. We will talk about it, and we also will look at issues to do with choices. So bear with me. We have about 30 minutes that I'm going to go with you on this one. The first issue that we want to talk about is on the issue of optimality. That means a consumer must make the right choices which meets his maximum satisfaction or maximum need, isn't it? So on that basis alone, we have got trade-offs that must be done. For a consumer as an individual, you must know that he has to make the right decisions on choosing A from B. Say, for example, from choosing a cell phone from food. There must be a trade-off somewhere. You can't have both in some situations, isn't it? So there must be a trade-off. We're going to look into it a little bit later on when we make in terms of consumer choices. Number two, we look at workers. There's a trade-off. A worker provides labor. What does he get in return? He gets a wage. Some will call it a salary. Some will call it a rate per hour. Some will call it what? Now you remember, depending from organization to organization where you are working, you receive a wage, a salary, or what you call as an income. So three things that I have talked about right now: scarcity, you being able to make a choice, and opportunity cost. I'm going to focus on it just now. But let's just talk in terms of the firms. In terms of firms, there are a lot of trade-offs that you will realize there. For a firm, it makes the productive choice on saying, what do we produce? We as a firm, again, we are faced with the same problem of scarcity. we may have limited resources for us to produce the things that we want. So there is a trade-off. I want to try and simplify it, because people try to complicate economics when it is really a little bit simple, isn't it? So remember, 3 things that we want to look at: scarcity, limited resources to satisfy unlimited ones. Choice, making the optimal choice based on the resources that you have. Number 3, opportunity cost. Simple, it simply means that the cost of the foregone alternative. I would have had a cell phone, but no, I decided to have this. So what is the cost? That is the foregone satisfaction or enjoyment of the cell phone. Do you understand? So we move on to something else that we want to quickly look at. I will take you a little bit earlier on what you did on the first foundations on principles. You talk in terms of a market. If I remember, you will realize that we say that there are buyers and sellers who meet together. There you have it. A market. Simple. Don't try to complicate it. Again, a market where you've got buyers and sellers, they meet together. Now, when those two meet together, they determine a price. When the buyers and sellers meet, you have a price. What is the price? The price is what we know as the market price. So in simple ways, don't try and complicate it. You have a single price in between the buyers and the sellers. Now, ideally, we are talking in terms of a competitive market. Now, you will go on, when we will look later on in terms of macroeconomics, that's later on, you will find that there are different kind of markets, isn't it? But when we talk in terms of competitive markets, we are saying buyers and sellers determine a single market, isn't it? So remember that we've got different types of economies or different kinds of markets. You have got the command system that you find in Cuba, Korea, where the government itself has got a strict control in terms of the prices. Now I want you to remember that. You have got different kinds. You've got the Soviet system, former Soviet system. Now you've got Russia, Bulgaria, and all the other countries. They still are rooted in communism and socialists, isn't it? So you find that most of them, they still have the government determining the price. Now, just to lay the foundation on this, I'll be reminding you on what we did in terms of the principles before we move on, isn't it? So there is something that we will consider. 2 key principles that I want you to remember as we move on. Remember, still chapter 1. You have what we know as normative. Some of what they call normative economics or normative statements or normative analysis. Different authors. But for the purpose of this study, we'll look in terms of a normative economics or normative analysis. Then you have what we know as positive analysis. So you find that whenever you analyze in terms of economics, you find that there are normative and there are positive analysis. Different economists, but already you can see that this one is using positive statements or this one is using normative statements. Let's look at it in terms of this. When you talk in terms of normative statements or normative analysis, you will find a single person uses his value judgment analysis. Again, you're talking in terms of his own personal opinions. Look at it in terms of whenever you've got a news television section where you've got, say for example, an economist is brought in to analyze. He isn't necessarily giving you factual. He's giving you what you know as his personal value judgments, isn't it? So you have got debates that are there. You have got economics or political commentators giving you their economic analysis. Most of them, they provide what we know as personal opinions or value judgments. I want you to remember that. This has to do with how you feel that, this community ought to have water in their system, or ought to have more electricity given to them, or ought to have social welfare increased. Something along those lines. Then we've got what we know as positive analysis. Now, economics, there are 2 key things that we will remember there. Cause and effect. Cause and effect. Again, you read other literature, they will tell you it's called causality. Are we together? It's known as causality, where you've got cause and effect. So you will find positive economics is normally central to microeconomic, because it's based more on substantiated or proved or tested theories or studies that are conducted. They are tested, hypothesis tested, using various econometric tools. You have that foundation that you have. So whenever there is a positive analysis, it's used, or you use facts that are gathered, years of analysis they come up with. So you find that central banks or even government, whenever they post policies, there must be positive studies or positive analysis that are done. Now, there's one key thing that we will also be looking at as we go into all the other chapters. There is what we know as a concept in economics as a ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus. It's simply a use of analysis where we say we hold all other constants equal. Are we together? So you hold all the other constants equal, or all the other variables are equal. That you use for you to analyze a concept. Are we together? So when you hold all constants together, it's easy for you to analyze another concept, isn't it? So I will also want you to do just a basic homework, isn't it? Or basic study on your own. Go and look what we know is post hoc ergo propter hoc. Am I coming too hard? No. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. Isn't it? So there are two key things that we will also be looking at. So remember, in this foundation, economics is just based on analysis, isn't it? So you will find that we will have, we said we've got positive, normative. And I've already given you all the other central principles that we will be looking on as we go along, isn't it? So bear with me. We'll have what we know as nominal pricing as well as real pricing. Remember we talked about the prices, isn't it? In terms of the market price. We have what we know as nominal pricing as well as the real pricing. Take note of it. When you get into a shop, say for example, you get into a ShopRite shop, you look at the prices that are there. Now I'm going to ask you, what do you think are those prices that you find? Maybe say a loaf of bread is going for 10 rand, or $10 or $1, whatever it is that is written on the log sheet that is there on the shelf. That when you say it's an unadjusted price, that's what you know is the current price or nominal price. That is the absolute price that you find on the shelf. But we also have what we know as the real pricing. Are we together? Now, when you talk in terms of real pricing, we are saying that these prices are adjusted over a period of time. Let me repeat again. But this, take note of it. We say nominal pricing, real pricing. Nominal pricing, real pricing. Nominal pricing, we say in terms of that is the current dollar or the current rand. You talk in terms of the current price, isn't it? So you go into a shop, a refrigerator is going for 2,000 rand. That is the price that you see there. But it doesn't mean that in 1991 or in 2000, that price was 2,000. We are saying that as of today, say for example 2018, maybe 10 July or 10 January or whatever, the price that you find of an imperial refrigerator is 2,000 or 10,000 rands. That is the nominal price that you see. It's not adjusted to anything. In 1991, maybe it was actually 100 rand. Who knows then? But now we also look in terms of the real pricing. Now, what are we saying in terms of real pricing? We are saying that this is the constant price adjusted. Constant price adjusted. So these, say for example, we've got statistics organization. Say for example, in South Africa, you've got the Statistics South Africa or Stats SA. In Zimbabwe, you've got the Stats Zimbabwe or Zimbabwe Statistics Association. Namibia, you've got the same thing. These are organizations that work together with economists or even government policy makers to come up with what are known as the statistics numbers for prices, for inflation, for any other figures that they will need. So you find that you as a researcher or you as an economist or a person who is studying economics, you go out there to the Stats SA or Stats Zimbabwe, Stats Namibia, their offices, they will give you these prices that are there. These are prices that we accumulated or that are collected over the years. So when you have those things, you will find that they are compiled together, and you will know, will be able to work out what you know as CPI or PPI. Let me remind you that we say that the CPI, we are saying Consumer Price Index. Remember, it should not be too hard. Remember, come with me. We said CPI, Consumer Price Index. We also have PPI, Producer Price Index. Now, let's come back, CPI, consumer. Already we are talking in terms of you as a consumer, the prices that have to do with you purchasing a product. But we also have PPI. Again, PPI, Producer Price Index. So as a producer, this has to do with you. Producer looking at the manufacturers, producers of goods and commodities, any other manufacturer within that particular range. So you said in terms of the CPI, that's the aggregate measure of prices, isn't it? The aggregate measure of prices. And when we look at the changes or the percentage changes in that CPI or consumer price index, you will find that over the time, the change that you find, we call it the inflation, isn't it? So in terms of macroeconomics, this concept of inflation, you will find it there. So when you have a percentage change of prices over the time, you have what we know as inflation. Are we together on that one? So CPI, I want you to do an extra reading, a little bit of it on those CPI, Consumer Price Index. Let me lay a foundation a little bit. We also have PPI. Now you say, no, why don't you explain further inflation? But basically we are looking in terms of the increase of prices, isn't it, over a period of time. Now the prices that we are talking about, that is the CPI. But this is a macro principle. Really doesn't really apply right now, but in macroeconomics, again, we'll look at it, isn't it? Right. In terms of PPI, we are saying that it is the same concept, but we're looking in terms of the producer. The price increases, but in terms of the producer. Now, what prices are we talking about? Yeah, you look at these raw materials. For him to be able to produce, to produce goods and commodities, he is also affected. So you find that these are almost similarly correlated products, isn't it? Are we together on that one? Now, take note of this one. I want to look in terms of the cost of beer, for example, or the cost of beer. I know a lot of people love beer. Let's see if this one makes sense. Beer in 1991, say for example, was costing 50 cents a quart or a bottle of beer. It used to be cheap then, but now you see it's now, say for example, 10 rand. 50 cents, 10 rand. What happened? Did the price go up? No. Yes and no. Why yes? Yes, because now you see the nominal price or the current price that you see there is at 50 cents. But what about the real pricing part of it? You will find that it is adjusted over a period of time. That's what we are talking in terms of that. Sometimes you have got a price adjusted over a period of time. Why is it adjusted? Because you find that in terms of the producer price index, he is also affected. Now I want you to look in terms of the real price of beer. Say for example, in 1991, isn't it? Compared to 2008. Now I want you to look at this equation. So I'm going to put it on the board, so you'll be able to look at it. Just go with me. This one. We say the price of beer in 2000, say for example in 2008, say 2018. That's the year that we are in. When we want to calculate the price of beer currently as compared to 2000, let's say for example in 2000, we are saying that the CPI, we look at the consumer price index, that was in 2000. Again, you say, where do I get these figures? I already told you that these figures you were States SA should be able to provide these ones for you to be able to compare. You don't have to compare it. It's already done by someone. That's why I was saying that your analysis of economics should not be very complicated. The data and the figures usually are already provided. So I'm saying that in terms of CPI, we're saying that CPI of 2000, we're saying that divided by the CPI of 2018, that is this year. Okay? Then you multiply this one by the nominal price. Now what did you say nominal price was? We say that is the current rand, isn't it? Or the current dollar of that particular. That is the price that we gave an example of refrigerator, isn't it? We say that the price of a refrigerator in 2000 maybe is 10,000 rand. So see that equation that is already there. Or we say that the real price of beer in 2018, we are saying that, let's look at it, it's CPI in 2000 divided by CPI in 2018. Just follow that equation. We multiply it by the nominal price, that is the current price or the nominal price of 2018. Is that clear? Are we together on that one? So that should be able for you to come up with your real price of beer. So in other words, the real price of beer, what about in 2000? I want to see the real price of beer in 2000. Real price in 2000, again, look at the same equation, that the other equation that I'm putting now. Look at the figure that we're putting there. You'll find that the real price of beer in 2000, you look at the CPI of 2018, you divide it by the CPI of 2000. You multiply by the nominal price of 2000. Then you find the real price of beer in 2000. So comparatively, look at that. You have got a real price in 2018, a real price in 2000. Now, let's work together on that one. It is not that difficult at all for you to be able to come with that, isn't it? All right, we together. So real price of beer in 2000, isn't it? Which is equal to CPI of 2018 divided by CPI of 2000 multiplied by the nominal price of 2000. Now, I want you to practice this. It sounds complicated, but it really isn't. It's just a question of working around that figure, looking at the best prices that are there. But like I said, these prices you're already given. There isn't really anything much hard on it, isn't it? So I'll look into the percentage of real percentage in real price of beer is equal to the real price of 2018 minus the real price of 2000 divided by the real price of 2000. Now I want you to practice this. Like I say, this sounds difficult, but it really isn't. So in this chapter 1, we lay the foundations for you for your analysis. Again, it has to do with you having looked in terms of the principles that you've already done. We come back again, we try and really look at some of these principles that you have already done. Now, the question that a lot of people try to ask me is, why should I study? Really, why study economics? There are so many reasons, but I'm going to try and see if I can just collect them to make them four. Why should I study economics? The first part of it has to do with decision making. You put a person who has done economics, really, he is more incisive. He knows how to make the proper decision at the right time. Economics teaches you to make the right decision. How so? Number 2, it has to do with problem solving. When a person knows how to solve problems, he knows how to make the right decisions. Problem solving. So you find that you have some equations and some graphs or some. It really isn't meant to boggle your mind or to play around with your brains. No, it just has to do with you being able to make the right decision. Economies all over, they are faced with the same problem. How do they make the right decision? Remember, the basic economic problem, it has to do with scarcity. When you have scarcity, you have a problem. Then you have what? How do we allocate these resources? How do we produce these goods? Or to whom do we sell these goods? Again, those are economic problems. But for us to be able to allocate resources that are limited, again, the resources that are scarce, we must be able to get the basics right. There is no bush economics. There is just economics. No, different schools will analyze it differently, but when you have the right tools, you should be able to make decisions. Like I said, that years of studies give you positive economics, which are central to microeconomics, which are central to economics. Years of studies, years of research will teach you how to do certain things right, isn't it? Then you have what policy designing. Governments are faced with a problem on how to make the right decisions. Policies run economies. Policies run governments. They aid the making of right decisions. Again, you've got decisions that have to do with allocating resources, policies that have to do with social welfare, policies that have to do with your say for example your monetary policy. For example, you've got your fiscal policy. Those are policies that are made in terms of central, in terms of economy. But we also have our public service policies that are there, or public administration policies that are there, that have to do with the running of the economy. When you don't have the basics right, you cannot allocate resources properly. So you need to have the right tools for you to analyze and make the right decisions. Then fourthly, we use logic and analysis of situations. I had several people ask me, you seem to be astute whenever you talk, or whenever you are discussing matters, wherever. I said, no, it has nothing to do with me being intelligent or being brain or something like that. No, it just has to do with organizing and arranging logic. That's what economics is all about. Organizing and arranging logic. So you will be able to centrally process ideas or carefully make decisions. Are we together? So on that regard, I will say thank you for being with me. I should be able to ask you to look through what we have done, go and do extra reading, look at your study materials and see where you feel that you are weak on, go and read on that one. But we were just simply laying foundation. Thank you for that one. See you on chapter 2. Out.